Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Too Big to Fit podcast. I'm Mackenzie Morris. If you're not have not been here before, welcome. I am with Dani Carpenter today, and she is one of the most bubbly, fun, energetic people on the planet, which is why we get along so well. She is a business and messaging strategist, and she is going to give us so much gold today when we get into this episode. I'll tell you more after this.
I'm Mackenzie Morris, and after 15 years of building brands, scaling businesses, and creating empires across industries, I have learned that it is not only okay to be uncontainable, it's actually a superpower built within the multi-passionate, the visionaries, and the big dreamers. This is the first multi-dimensional business podcast that mixes strategy, identity, personal stories, conversations, and the messy, unfiltered parts of being a creative to help you build a brand that's impossible to ignore just by being exactly who you are. This is the Too Big to Fit podcast.
Dani, thank you so much for being here today. Tell everyone who is listening who might not know you a little bit about you, your business, what you do, all the things.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. My name is Dani. Like Mackenzie said, I am a mom of 3. We have a pandemic baby, a middle child, and an older 11-year-old boy who's, approaching the preteen and almost too cool for school, but that's a story for another day. I live in sunny Southern California, and it's like in the 50s, which feels cold to me. And so many of my friends are in the Midwest, and they're like -20, -40 here. And I just find that I can't even wrap my head around that type of cold. Spent the last 15 years as a speech pathologist working in the schools with children, really helping them express and communicate themselves, being able to articulate what they want to say in a clear way. And only recently have I understood and seen the through line of how that applies to why I'm so good as a business and messaging strategist. I'm like, duh, but it's kind of funny because sometimes we just can't see it until we're hit with 12 different shoes on top of our head, and then it finally clicks.
That is the case. And I know as someone like myself and a lot of those who are listening to this, we are very multi-passionate. We have a lot of interests and skills, and we're great at a lot of things. And it's really hard to communicate all of those things because they might not all go together. Like for me, I run a marketing agency. I'm a business and visibility strategist. I love all of that, but I also run a nightlife brand. And that's a totally different world, but those into the marketing agency, but on the outside looking in, they're 2 completely different entities, right? And I always feel like I'm in some sort of box, which is the exact reason why I made this podcast, so I can not feel that way and have a space where anything and everything goes and there are no rules. But for those who are like me, who might feel like they're in a box and might feel like their skills and their uniqueness and their magic is misunderstood by the world because we can't articulate it well, what advice would you give us?
I think that there's just this notion that it has to just be like all or nothing, or in the last several years, I pivoted into the entrepreneur category, coming from a very strict black and white career where it's like my whole life is planned out at the school district till I'm 62. I know exactly what my retirement's going to be. Between year 10 and 20, my pay doesn't change at all unless we get a cost of living raise and just things like that. For me, for the longest time, that was really fine until it wasn't. And for a long time, I just kept pushing down this urge to kind of explore other avenues because I thought, oh no, I'm so type A. I like everything to fit in a box and it's predictable, it's safe. And for a while it was fine. But I think if you're listening and you're starting to feel that urge to I don't know, I just feel like there's something more, maybe this isn't it, to figure it out as you go. And for me, being a planner, I want to have the next 10 steps planned out for me. And I've done so much healing in the last couple years around that because it's that's actually takes all the magic, all the fun out of it when everything is so prescribed. And of course, business requires strategy. You need to do the non-negotiables. There is still a time and place for both. And so if you're listening, I would just say, find a way to just be open to new possibilities and things maybe not going as planned, but I love to say well, this or something better. Why don't we play in that kind of fun magic energy? Because that's what entrepreneurship gets to be. This gets to be my fun, joyful, creative outlet. And literally the sky's the limit.
I think that is such invaluable advice, and it is so good. And it's something that we really don't think about a lot. And as entrepreneurs, those who are especially solopreneurs with small teams doing under, 500,000 a year, there's a lot of pressure to do more and to be more and to have it figured out, because if you lose your momentum, you're going to like everything's going to crash and burn, right? There is this whole fear that, okay, the business that I built, it is not going to stand on its legs if I stop. So I know a big part of what you do is you help people kind of find their magic and find their words and find the thing that makes them uncopyable, as you like to say. What is some ways that they can do that? Maybe if they're struggling to figure out kind of that next step or figuring out that next evolution.
Yeah. I mean, it's there's so many layers to it. It's hard to even capture it, but I'm going to try. So I think like what you were saying is like you've got all these different facets of your business and they're kind of like this one's in this box and this box. Like I'm a speech pathologist. I did 8 years in network marketing. I was the top 2% in that company. And I was like, well, that was skincare. Well, this is speech pathology. This is, now I'm a business messaging strategist and coach for entrepreneurs. Like, oh, those are all different. But I think actually when you can start to see and try to find a through line, like a common thread, where it's like either the values, like what do you value? Well, I value helping people feel more confident in their communication. That was evident in every one of my businesses. Social media. I had to use social media to grow my online network business since 2018. Like literally back in the day, you could post a before and after photo of someone with acne and without acne and like just get customers like that. Like the online, the way social media has changed is funny to see the evolution over the last 8 years. But I think when you can start to see like, well, what are some of the beliefs, the values, the grit, the determination, or even the lessons that you've learned through all the experiences that you have. It's life experiences, it's the stories you've lived. It might be special training, like my master's is in speech pathology. Like, how is that related to business? Well, once I started to kind of see that thread line, that common through line, that's how I start to see myself as uncopyable. I start to bring all of me to the table instead of before I was like disqualifying myself. Well, that's over here. Like I have a master's degree. I'm like the expert here in speech pathology, but I've only been a business owner for, 2.5 years as an entrepreneur and 8 years as a whatever. And it's just like, no, 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 this and like when you
Mm.
start to see how they come together, you get to bring all of that forward. You start to back yourself. And then we pull those stories into your content and help position you as a category of one, as uncopyable, so that you stand out. Because at this point, every market is saturated, but I
Right.
also believe that it's not when you know how to differentiate yourself. Like that's the biggest part for not only backing yourself, but also showing your clients and your audience why you're different and why they would want to choose you over maybe 7 other profiles that they've been following and why they want to work with you.
Oh my goodness. I absolutely think you touched on something that is very, very important. And it's this idea that things you've done in the past do not make them irrelevant. Because a lot of times, like for me, I worked in a construction company, a Fortune 500 construction company for 5 years. I worked in a bunch of different roles. I was the number one in the company at one point. I was participating in a competition and I won number one. And that really put me on the map and skyrocketed me into my career in that. And through that role, I learned how to be bold and how to be a leader and how to step into my confidence. If I did not learn how to do that, I would not be the person I am today. I would not be as good as I am today. And just like you, I came up through network marketing. When I was in middle school, I was selling energy drinks to my friends and supplements and probiotics to their parents through a company called Verve that no longer exists. And then I moved into Chloe and Isabel and I did all that for a while. People can say what they want about network marketing. There's pros and cons. It will teach you a lot of things. It gives you a lot of skills that most people do not have. And a lot of people who come up through network marketing end up being very, very successful entrepreneurs and business owners. So shout out to the network marketers listening here, because almost everyone I know has a background in it. But I think it's very, very important to touch on this idea that those things that you did, even if they're not directly related to the things you're doing now, are still wildly important and they are still relevant because they give you that credibility and that authority and that experience and highlights that oneness factor, that thing that makes you you, your one in a billionness, the thing that no one else can copy because they don't have your experience, they don't have your perspective, and they don't have your skills.
And one exercise that I like to do for myself and with my clients, especially in the beginning, as they're kind of stepping into this like new identity of trying something new, is to fill a proof jar. Like you can either do it like physically, you can draw a jar on a whiteboard and then just start to like write things in there, proof times that you've done things that like were pretty hard, even if it's not related to your business or whatever it is you're trying to do. You grew your network marketing business, you scaled a wedding brand globally. Like, like what are all those things that you can fill your proof jar? And on a day when maybe you scrolled a little too much and you're starting to kind of compare yourself and you're starting to feel like, oh, why am I not there yet? Go back and look at that proof jar. And inside that proof jar, even fill it with some testimonials if you have client testimonials and just read those and just remember that like you are uncopyable. You are a category of one and you are so unique and the world needs your work delivered by you your way because no one else can do that. And when you remember that, I mean, anything is possible.
I love the idea of a proof jar. There is a framework that I have within my company called the Fire Starter Framework. And I've also included a stage of that in my Hollywood Effect Challenge. And it is Stack the Proof. It is so key to becoming the person who has the things that you want, to believing that you are that successful person that you are. And I think it's so like overlooked and people don't think about it very often. So I love that you had mentioned that. Okay, so kind of moving on from this, tell us a little bit more about the people that you work with. Like maybe some sort of scenario where they come with you and they're like, Dani, your girl needs help. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. What does it look like when they get into your world?
Yeah. So I would say a lot of my clients aren't total beginners, but they're definitely not at the stage of scaling with consistent revenue, money that they can count on, and really scaling to the level of impact that they desire. And so more recently, the last few clients had just finished running some really successful group programs. They had insane testimonials. Like the results that they got their clients were crazy, but they're like, I know I don't want to run that program the same way. It took way too much time. There maybe was a little bit too much hand holding. They kind of felt like they were like dragging their people along, which reminds me of my network marketing days. And I would help people launch their business and I literally wanted it for them more than they wanted it. And I was
Right.
like, this ain't it. And so one of the unique things that I do, I have an ease framework because I believe that we just tend to overcomplicate things. And the way that my mind works, this is where my type A, my organizational strategic mind really comes in. And we have an onboarding call and we just get really clear on your vision. Like, what is your vision for your brand? You know what you do works. You have those results, but like now where do you want to, are you feeling called to the one-on-one space? Are you feeling called to launch a one-to-many offer? Are you feeling called to more in-person workshops and whatever that is? And we get really clear on the vision because without that, it's really hard to know where we're going. And once we have that vision, then we talk about who's the desired client that you desire to work with. Because sometimes maybe in a previous offer, maybe you were calling in a different level of client and you were kind of like, actually, I don't want to do the hand holding. I want self-led clients. And part of that comes into your culture and the way that you lead your clients, the way that you position your content, speaking to those more empowered, activated clients and buyers, and getting really clear. And then we refine the offer. So I think there's this narrative where everyone's like, just burn your whole business to the ground. And I'm like, no, we don't need matches. We don't need what's the kerosene, whatever you pour
Yeah.
on there. We don't need that. We're just going to refine. Like you're not broken. Likely most entrepreneurs that I work with don't have a million different problems to solve, but they're likely solving the wrong problems in their business. And so we just work on some of those refinements. So maybe it's shifting your offer delivery a little bit. Maybe it's elevating your prices. Maybe you're not charging enough. And so you're feeling every time you go to deliver on that product or container, you're just like, I can't believe I have to go do that. I want you to have like joy is like the juiced on you. That's the name of my mastermind. Joy is the word like that just emanates through all my spaces. If it doesn't bring you joy, then we need to refine it.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's little tweaks like that. And then we can work on the messaging and positioning. That's like where my communication and my speech pathology gets to come to light. But we don't know what to say if we don't understand what our vision is, desire to work with and we have offers that we freaking love and like we cannot wait to serve and invite people into, then we work on the positioning. So that's really the basis of what I do. And when we do that, most of my clients go from like just having this little trickle of clients coming in to up to 25, 30 women in the next 30 days from the time that we start to get really clear on this. And that's been so fun. And one of the things I was talking to on a call yesterday was like, I like to share the client wins, but I also feel a little funny because I'm like, feels like I'm bragging. Feels like
Yeah.
I'm bragging a little bit. It's actually not bragging because when I share that, it's just like showing you the potential of what could happen for you when you come into my world. And so I have to get over that. I have a little bit of like things that I got to work on and just being okay tooting my own horn. Toot toot.
Dude, that horror girl. That is something I talk about all the time because if you are not confident enough to shout your results from the rooftop, how is someone else going to be confident enough to pay you? Actually, it is not bragging at all. Of course, it's bragging if you say, oh, my client did this, this, this. I am better than you. That is bragging, okay? But if you say, oh my God, my client went from $2,000 max ever making it in her business to claiming $8,600 in cash in just 20 days, that is absolutely crazy. And I'm so happy for her. That's a completely different thing, right? And that's an empowered, praise, right? And you need to be okay sharing that. And you can't let your ego get in the way of you sharing those results. So I think that's really important. The other thing that you had mentioned is to kind of allow yourself to edit and refine. A lot of times I feel like we are traipsing through business trying to get to a final end destination. And let me just tell you, there is no end game. Like if you are a true entrepreneur, there is always another level. There is always another game. There is always another iteration. You just have to be resilient enough to keep going and to not stop. Because quite literally 90% of everyone else that are trying to do what it is that you're trying to do, they're going to quit when things get hard. So just statistically, by pure effort and time and relentless dedication and resilience, you will come out on top every time. I believe that to my core. It might take you a little bit. There are so many companies, Alex Hormozy, Samsung, Motorola, Coca-Cola, all of these companies all started doing completely different things. I want to say Samsung or Macintosh or something started out as a noodle company and they're now a big tech giant. Like it is crazy to me, the evolutions. Like go back and research some of the biggest brands and see where they started. Because a lot of times it is not there. It is just editing and refining and allowing yourself to go through that journey and to pivot and to try something new.
Yeah, you just touched on something I dropped. I just finished an 11-day offer called Uncopyable, but the pre-party, I talked exactly about our mindset and approach to our business and how when we have a fixed mindset versus an infinite mindset towards our brand. So infinite would be like obviously being okay with like the entire journey. And you think about a game, like if you're playing a game, most people play a game to win. They're like, how do I beat the competition? Versus in entrepreneurship, you don't really like win. Like you might have 10K as your goal, 20K, 30 months is your goal. And then when you get there, it's not like, okay, I'm done and I just take my foot off the gas. Just in the same way as like a relationship. You get married, you're not done. Like I haven't made it. I didn't win at my relationship. I still have to work on it. And I want to be in love with my relationship and my partner for my lifetime. I want it to continue to get better.
Yeah.
And same with your business. It's like you actually just need to fall in love with the process and enjoy the entire road because there's no like winning or like making it in business. You continue to grow. And so while most people are playing games to win, we're playing to stay in the game. And when you have that infinite mindset where you can really just extend the time horizon, it actually takes a little pressure and weight off to be like, well, I want a 10K by Friday, February 3rd. And it's like, well, sorry, sis. Like, that's not actually how entrepreneurship works.
Right.
And until you learn some of these lessons, you're going to repeat the same patterns over and over again. And it's your job to just stay in the game. Stay in the game. Celebrate those wins. Fill the proof jar. What can you do? What can you focus on? That's your side of the equation. And the rest will sort itself out.
Oh, so good. I so resonate with all of that. I was talking with someone last night. I was streaming live on Facebook and on Instagram, just doing like a live work day, just talking to myself, talking to the camera, talking to whoever else going to show up. And that's kind of one of the things that came up is quite literally your life can change within 7 days, but that doesn't just come overnight, right? Like a lot of little micro moments have to happen in order for something really super cool to happen. But if you quit or you're putting yourself on a timeline, you get defeated, those types of things aren't going to happen. And it's just, again, having that resilience and being okay to play the game and realize like you're in it for the fun of it. You should be in it for the joy of it. You really should be loving what it is that you're doing. I know so many people look at me like, Mackenzie, you're always working. You're so busy. I'm like, what do you mean? I don't feel like I'm always working. I love my job. I love what it is that I'm doing because it is just so fun for me. I am literally just playing out in the world and seeing what happens.
Yeah, play. Like, play, enjoy. Like, if that's not what it feels like to be in your brand, then, like, we get to recreate it. Like, I
Mhm.
actually won a business that last summer we were in Maui with my family, and, like, I hopped on a mastermind call on the patio with the beautiful blue water behind us because I desire to. I desire to plug into my clients even when I'm on vacation. That doesn't mean that I don't set boundaries. That doesn't mean that I don't ever take time off. I still have my values and my priorities. Like Fridays, today's a Friday. After this, I'm getting my nails done and then I'm going to pick up my kids from school. You get to design it, your business around your life, and more isn't more. We're not here to just like work and burn out because that's like that's so 2025. We're not that's over there.
Effortless.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I actually just launched another episode on this show probably a few weeks ago, and it was called Masking as Productivity. And there was a time where I was actually sharing an example of what I was mentally going through trying to get this podcast set up. And I was trying to set everything up. And in the name of productivity, I was trying to film because everything is content. I'm going to document the journey of starting the podcast because people want to see the journey. But then now one of the things that was holding me back was the wallpaper. Like I couldn't pick a wallpaper. So then I wanted to share the journey of what wallpaper I picked and didn't pick and why and share that thing and get them into my brain and blah blah blah. Fun fact, I never bought the wallpaper. I didn't set any of it up. And it was me masking as being productive, trying to be efficient when in reality I was being destructive and I was getting distracted from the thing I actually needed to be doing. And things like that just kind of sneak up on us a little bit.
Yeah. And I think it's really helpful to have like a mentor or a colleague or like a work bestie, someone to kind of hold you accountable and call you out in those moments. I'm like such a visual learner. I just love to think about like, where are my feet planted right now? And what is the next thing that I need to do? Today, I need to make sure I put out a piece of content. Today, I need to go live, or today, I need to send out an email. Like, have a weekly or daily or even monthly non-negotiable list that is like your we called it this in network marketing, your daily IPAs. Did you do that?
Okay.
Yeah, your income producing activities. So, like, what are your daily or weekly IPAs that you need to do to move the needle on your business? And for me, I make sure it's the things that will help grow my business first, which is like putting content out there and making sure I'm in my stories, make sure I'm Then, third is responding to clients and things that are already in my world. But first, I need to do the outreach first to continue to get visible and to continue to bring in new eyes to my page, and then checking in with your clients, and then so on and so forth. But like,
Mhm.
maybe if you're someone that struggles with that, make a daily or a weekly non-negotiable list and keep it simple. Like, what are the exact needle movers that I need to do in this season? Maybe you're wanting to put out a new offer and you need to record, your intro video, or like write the sales page. Like, write it out, be intentional with your time so that when you sit down and you have an hour or two blocked out, you're actually able to execute on it, because there's nothing worse than watching the clock go by and you're like, oh my gosh, 2 hours have passed and I just like was scrolling and,
Right.
having my squirrel brain. Like, we're moms. We don't have the luxury to just let the day waste away. We've got to be so intentional with our time.
My gosh. Okay. I have one thing I want to share, and then I have a question for you. So I love that you talked about having your daily IPAs and having a system or a list. One thing that I have started doing, and it has quite literally changed my life. I'm going to actually pull it up because I have my list. These are my content maps. So every single time I create a blog, there is a process that happens, right? So you can look on my list here Anytime there's a blog post, I'm going to create one to three quote graphics from the blog. And then I'm going to create 1 to 2 story slides from it. And then the same thing if I have a podcast, right? We're going to record the episode. I'm going to create an audio teaser post, a launch graphic, 3 to 5 short talking head clips, and a quote graphic, right? Like these are the processes that I do for every type of piece of content and every type of thing. And this allows me to stay very, very structured. I think a lot of times whenever we think of having a process or a system or a series of steps, people automatically assume it has to be automated. And yes, it can be, but it does not have to be. It quite simply can be a little list that you print out or write out and keep on your desk. So I really love that. And I think this can really help just keep people focused.
And
So
working smarter, not harder. So you're taking the content from these types of things that you're doing and you're repurposing it with a quote graphic, a video, like so many different things. I also run the social media for my dad's restaurant. He's a business owner, a brick and mortar of 54 years. Side note, this is why
incredible.
this is why I repelled entrepreneurship for so long, because I was like, that's a no for me, dog. Like someone didn't lock the door and it's 2 a.m. and the campus police, because he's right near the UC Riverside camp, they're being called, or someone breaks in, or someone calls in sick, and it's just like that's like I want to wash my hands of a brick and mortar business. Like it is not easy. Restaurant business, there's very little profit margins. So for a long time I was like, no, I love my structured teacher paycheck. Like I know exactly where it's coming from each month. But for him, I go like every couple months and I'll spend like an hour or two filming content of the sandwiches and the food. And like I didn't know that posting pictures of food could be so fun, but it's really fun. You can story tell through food too. But in just repurposing that, I'm able to take like 1 or 2 hours of content from a content shoot and use it for 3 to 4 months before I need to do another one. And that has just been really helpful to put out there too. And I'm sure you see that with a lot of the social media that you're doing with your other businesses too.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing I teach my clients, and this is something that if you can understand it, and Dani just touched on this, is if you can learn this, it will quite literally change your life and how you operate in your business. I call it my break and stretch method. And it's this idea that if you have a long piece of content, you can break it up into a bunch of little tiny micro pieces of content. And then all of them can always be broken down more, right? Or if you just have one little thought, you're like, oh, I'm inspired, I'm going to go do a little talking head video. You can go and stretch that into a longer form piece of content. You can go take that topic and write a blog on it. You can go do a longer form video on it, right? You can do other things. So taking this idea of breaking things down to little tiny pieces and stretching it out can really help, just like you had mentioned, like an incredible repurposing strategy. So with that being said, kind of on the realm of social media, let's say I am in this weird pivot space of my business, right? I am in this evolution trying to figure out what I want to do next. I am figuring it out. I have therefore not posted on my social in like 4 days. I have no clue what to say because I actually don't know what's going in my mind. What would you tell me, Dani, if I was your client and I sent you a Voxer saying, girl, I don't know what to say right now?
I think you say that. I think you bring that forward, and you just be real with your audience and you bring them along for the journey too. And it's just like, hey, I'm in this pivot. I just finished this and now I'm like, I don't know, should I go this way or this way? Maybe you create a poll and you bring your audience along with you to kind of be a part of the journey. Or you can also share just like, hey, some days I don't have it all together. Some days I don't have content prep. Today I don't know what I want to talk about. So we're going to put your phone up, we're going to do a get ready with me video. And you're just like being real and human and authentic. I think that is really powerful. It just got a little fuzzy.
It should go, and sometimes it might get fuzzy in whatever. It's just with the processing, so it all will be clear once it's all
Okay.
uploaded.
I'm gonna get back on my train of thought. Yeah, so I think I love bringing the human along for the journey, and so bringing that forward. Like I even talked about inside my 11-day experience that I just ran. I'm like a morning person, so I wanted to deliver the trainings every morning, but over the weekend, something came up. I had to go visit a family member in the hospital. And so I just said, hey guys, I'm not going to be in here until later. And then when I came on, I shared with them, I said, you might intend to be consistent. You want to be posting every day, but there might be days when you don't know what to post. Or today, like this took me for an unexpected turn. But the biggest thing, which is like the core of who I am, is communication. Just calling that out and let clients know, hey, this is normally the expectation, but today it's going to be a little bit different. And when you communicate that, you're just like, you're lowering the anxiety that your clients might be feeling. Maybe they're like, why haven't I heard from her? Or people that follow you, they're going to your page and they're like, why hasn't she posted? Gosh, it's been 4 days. Is she okay? Just go
Right.
live and just bring us along for the journey. And then if you're still like, okay, so I shared that. I brought them along for the journey. I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, don't be afraid to test out things you don't. I don't know. There's a woman in my DMs right now where she's Reiki trained, she's Pilates instructor, and she's wanting to do like a new pivot with different clients. I'm like, then just launch like a free experience just to get out there and test it. Test out your new language, your new methodologies, your new frameworks, and just test it and see if it feels good for you to deliver. And then
Right.
see how it is received. And then maybe you start to gather some testimonials too. It's just like giving yourself permission to not have it all figured out. And one thing that comes along, I feel like people talk about this a lot, is like imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome, one of my other clients, she's like, it's not a syndrome. That's like a medical condition. So she likes to call it, she renamed it imposter phenomenon. And so I like that. Because
Yeah.
I syndrome, like that's so medical. That's kind of funny. But imposter phenomenon, that comes up because we're doing something we've never done before. So like instead of being like, oh, I feel like an imposter, what if we just gave imposter phenomenon a hug and we just thanked imposter phenomenon for coming up because it's showing us that we're stepping out of our comfort zone and we're doing something new.
Yeah.
That's it. And then being okay with not being the expert. No one expects you to be the expert. There's like AI for that. They're the perfect people is like, that's what robots are for, but we're not robots. So just
Right.
sharing it freely and taking little baby steps and figuring it out as you go.
Right. So embracing our humanness, I think that's really key. And a lot of times, whenever we're running a business, I feel like that can absolutely get lost because you want to have it all together. And a lot of times you do have it all together. So then, whenever you're going through these pivots and these transitions, it can feel very, very scary and stressful to be like, wow. I don't know anything, right? And now you've forgotten everything you've ever learned about anything ever. And, everything is coming crashing down. So I think exactly what you said, embracing that humanness can be really, really key. One story that I have whenever I stepped out of my comfort zone and that imposter phenomenon really came up, someone gave me a very big piece of advice. I decided I was going to go and post a very, very edgy, very calling out post of like, if you are making less than 6 figures in your business, this is why type of post. It's because you're doing this. And it was very matter of fact. And I posted it in this group with like 50,000 people. And that is so scary, especially if the group is like active. And I did this and I got ripped a freaking new one. Like they did not agree with what I said. And it was horrible. Every fear that I had about doing that actually came true. And I remember I went and deleted it. And one of the admins sent me a message. She was like, hey, I'm so sorry that got out of control. This group is a very specific group. Like they have very specific problems. So I think that triggered a lot of people. But I wish you would have left it up there so other people could have learned in the comments and all of these things. And I just responded. I was like, thank you so much for sending me this message. It was hard because I was trying to step out of my comfort zone. And, that imposter syndrome, that imposter phenomenon really kind of crept back in. And what she told me was, you're only an imposter if you're trying to falsify something, if you're trying to pretend to be something that you're not. If you shared something that was authentic and from your heart and from your expertise and your perspective, there is no such thing as being an imposter. And that really, really helped me and has obviously stayed with me years from that, even from that really like awful experience.
Yeah. And I think just, as we grow our businesses, we're putting ourselves out there and we're subject to our work not being received well by all. And even last month, I was doing a content training and giving my very structured advice on how I like to schedule out my content. And several of the women were like, oh my gosh, this is just what I needed. Like, I love this. I love the structure. And then another woman was like, this is way too structured for me. Like, that won't work. And an older version of me would have felt really uncomfortable in that and wanted to like jump in and like shapeshift and maybe like change my advice or whatever. Two different lenses that I see this from now. Number one, I didn't shapeshift. I was like, that's fine. Like, good for you for knowing that that's not for you. But I know without a shadow of a doubt that she will still gain some insights from the structure that I've provided and know which pieces she gets to apply to her business. So I have that self trust because I know that I'm embodied and I practice what I preach. And for many clients that I bring in are pretty typical to my personality type. So usually they align, but it's okay if they don't. Person on the receiving end of mentorship, it's your job to filter and discern and decide what feels resonant to you. Take the parts that you love and don't what you don't. Like you don't want to implement something when you're like, well, my mentor told me to do this. Mackenzie said to do this and I have to do this way. Even though inside you know that it doesn't feel aligned for you. You have to be tuned in to your intuition.
Yeah.
And the other thing I thought of too, and I'm like the worst at going shopping by myself. I cannot. I'm like, I will send my mom or my sister like 17 different photos. Like, should I get this shirt or this? You know, da 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 da. And you know, when you do that, and you're like, which one do you like? And then someone picks this one, and you're like, "Oh, no, this one. This is the one I like." Like, you didn't realize the one that you liked until someone chooses something else. So
Right.
I also thought about that client too. I was like, maybe she didn't realize that this structure, maybe she'd been trying, just didn't work for her. And now she has this lens of awareness to know, actually, I'm going to take some of this and I'm going to go this way. So I just think that our work isn't met for everybody, and that's okay. Our
Yeah.
job, like if we're being clear and we're speaking our truth, we're going to attract and we're going to repel the people that aren't meant for our world. And it's okay to be a little polarizing. That's kind of the point. Like
Yeah.
that's what we actually need to do is say what we really mean, stand up for what we believe in, and be okay with negative feedback.
Yeah. And as leaders and as mentors, it is not our job to make you change and to change your business and to convince you that our way is the best way. That is not what we are here for. We are here to be a mirror to show you where your gaps are, where there are holes, and to help guide you through them and providing insights, providing strategies, and providing things that you can choose or not choose to implement or not, right? It is not our job to make sure you are getting everything from your investment, right? That is something that is really up to you. You've got to use your own intuition. If you're not plugging in, or if you're like, everything she said, I'm just not resonating with it, that's, you knew what you were signing up for. You knew who that was. And a lot of times I think we harness a lot of that responsibility where we feel like we have to overperform and over deliver and give in order to make up, an experience for someone if they're maybe not getting that. So I think that's really key to touch on also, just like you mentioned.
Yeah, and I'm like a rose-colored half like glasses half full always type of person. And so I also think that someone might not resonate with something you're saying now, maybe something, went wrong and they needed to be refunded or whatever. I still believe that 2 years, 5 years, maybe even 10 years down the road, something I said, something they learned in my proximity will click and will bring them value. And so when people are like, well, did you get an ROI? Did you make your money back yet? Like, no, the ROI is like infinite in
Yeah.
the work that we do. Like you can't measure it. It's an energetic ROI, it's thoughts and beliefs, and there can be the monetary, of course, but like we can't, our work can impact people for a lifetime. Something
Yeah.
we say today on this podcast can resonate with somebody 10 years from now, and we can't measure that. There's like literally no price on that. And I
Yeah.
think if you start to look at your investments and your business that way, it'll just change things too.
Absolutely. One thing that I always say, and this is something I fundamentally believe, and people literally think I'm delusional, and that's the point. But I do not believe in failure at all. And I say that because something is only a failure if you wasted time, you wasted money, you wasted energy, and you learned absolutely nothing. There is not one situation in life where you can tell me all four of those things are true, right? Because you will always learn something. You will learn what didn't work, what didn't resonate, what did, and what you loved, and all of those things, right? So therefore, nothing is really ever a failure, right? I'm sure someone can come up with something and like challenge me on that, whatever,
No, we're
right?
not going to.
We're not trying to, that's not the point here. But that's exactly how I approach everything. Like, I do not believe I can fail. And even if I go, I have spent multi five figures in mentorships and all of those things where I was like, wow, this was really not what I expected. But that's okay. Now I know, and now I can move on. Man, group coaching really is kind of not my thing. There's too many messages back and forth. I can't keep up with all this. I don't have 47 hours to listen to 47 voice messages. Like, I just don't. Right. So I'm a one-on-one girly, right? That is where I need to be because I am too fast paced. Right. But that was something that I've learned over time from being in a bunch of different types of containers to find out what does work for me.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes, because I'm that visual girly, is
Mhm.
I believe that failure is only a failure if you put the period at the end of the sentence. If you remove the period, it's still an opportunity for learning. So I can say last December, I launched a product and it totally flopped. Like it was a total failure. Or I can remove the period and look at all the opportunities for learning. And I learned that that time zone didn't work, that my Zoom, I didn't pay for the upgraded and it crashed like halfway through, or whatever the things that I've learned. And now in this present moment, I have changed the past, that past failure. I've removed the period, and now look at all the lessons I've learned. So it's no longer a failure. And if you think about that, we literally can change the past.
Yeah.
It might feel like a failure now, but time starts to teach you a lesson, and you look back and you're like, oh, well, I needed to learn that. I needed to learn that I didn't like group programs. I needed to learn that I needed to pay for Zoom, like just like different things. And like one time I was teaching a live class with 11 people in the Google Meets, and my browser crashed and the whole class like went bye-bye in the middle of the class.
Mhm.
That could be deemed as a failure. Most people would probably look at that as a failure. And instead it was like, time to upgrade your laptop, sweetie. We need a real laptop. So I went
Right.
and MacBook. It's like, that's a lesson. We have to learn these lessons. There's no entrepreneur, there's no professional athlete, there's like literally no one on the planet that didn't have failure as part of their story. They just didn't give up.
And you can't make it mean anything about you, right? Saying like, "Oh wow, my browser crashed. I'm a terrible leader. I should have had a better laptop if I wanted to be the business owner that I said that I want to be. I shouldn't be running, a jank laptop from 2007, like whatever it is, right? Like we can make it mean so much about us. And I think that's where you get stuck. And that is where complacency and stagnancy and all of those things really happen. And that's where your growth is going to be hindered. One of the biggest failures, in air quotes for me, is with my wedding company. Whenever I was like, okay, I am in 47 retailers around the world. I am selling directly to brides. I am doing these things. But now I'm sick of competing and selling the same product. I want to go and manufacture my own line. So I spent 2 full years manufacturing this custom line of apparel. And I wrote out 17 weeks of emails. I launched my products on Amazon, which also did not sell at all because I could not compete with like the major Amazon brands that could just outspend me, right? So that was also another lesson. But I did 17 weeks of launch emails. I had a wait list. I had hundreds of people opt in saying they wanted this thing. I launched and sold zero. Zero. I sold freaking nothing. I think eventually I had like 4 pity orders from friends to like make me feel better, you know? But like that did take me down. I will tell you, that did take me down a bit. But I learned, like, okay, one, had I had, let's say it popped off the way that I expected it to. Let's say I had sold 1,000 units of these things. How was I going to pay for 1,000 of them? What infrastructure did I have in place to be able to deliver that? Did I have a line of credit to be able to pay for 1,000 up front? Fucking no. Did I have an investor lined up to help me do that? Also no. Did I have a packing and shipping team? No. Like the reason it failed was universally, the universe was like, hey girl, you're not ready. You are not ready. And therefore I'm not going to let this happen right now. And that was a lesson that I learned.
And now you can take that lesson the next time one of your clients wants to make a physical product
Yeah.
and launch it potentially to Amazon. You have really direct experience in that.
Yeah, it's the thing of build it before you're ready, right? And we always talk about this idea of identity, and you have to become the version of you that has the thing. And I feel like that's really fluffy for people and they don't understand. But that
Yeah.
example that I just shared could have been the difference, right? Had I had set up some sort of system and maybe had I had some sort of conversation with someone like, hey, if I sell 1,000 of these, like, will you back this and like help me cover this order? No, of course I could go to bank and show POs and blah, 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 and probably get a loan. Had I thought through these things and maybe set up these systems and maybe paid for ads and reached some other audiences and done things a little bit bigger that like a bigger, more established company would have been doing, but maybe doing it on a smaller scale, maybe it would have been more successful. So taking this whole idea of think about the processes and systems and things that the version of you, the company that you want to have would have in place, and how can you do a version of that right now? And I think that will get you closer to your goals.
Yeah. Otherwise, it just sounds like such a fluffy thing. Well, just be her now. What would she do?
What do you mean?
Like,
What do you
I'm her. Yeah, I am her.
It's so funny as someone who I came up through business through the entrepreneurship track, it is very, very different from someone who came up into business and started their own company through a business track. And at the stage that I'm in now with my agency, I am now pitching my company for typical like W-2 contract roles and saying, hey, I know you're wanting to hire like an individual person for this, but I am actually the best person to hire for this. Let me come in and do this and you'll pay me on a contract and let me take this off of your plate. And that has been very, very stretchy for me and very scary. And also, it's become very hard for me to figure out how to show up because that's a whole different ball game and a whole different way of showing up when I'm trying to approach these other brands in this new sense. So that's definitely something I'm currently working through at the moment.
Yeah. Well, and even just practicing getting comfortable pitching like you just did, like rehearsing that, pitching with your husband, your partner, talking to your kids, talking to a friend, like you've got to get comfortable pitching. And that's one of the things I do. I have a little thread inside of my mastermind and I like Mean Girls. So instead of on Wednesdays we wear pink, it's on Wednesdays we pitch and we just practice pitching our offer, like what's coming up, is it a new workshop, is it a new mastermind, and just practice talking and inviting. And especially some of my clients really love in-person networking events, and so when you go around and introduce yourself, what's your 60-second like elevator pitch? You got to get comfortable talking about it in person, on camera, on voice notes, whatever it is. And it's okay, like literally you got to embrace the suck. It's gonna suck at first,
Yeah.
it's not gonna come out smooth until you get better. And the more that you practice pitching, the more confident you will walk in that room and people will be like, oh my gosh, yes, give me whatever you have.
Yeah, it's so key and really learning how to articulate it. I will tell you, I went to a networking event last week, an in-person one, because the people that I'm now pitching to, trying to go and get these bigger jobs, like I'm negotiating a $60,000 contract right now, like heck yeah. But drove in this car saying my pitch over and over and over again. I'm Mackenzie Morris from Mackenzie Morris Agency, and we help build brands that are impossible to ignore through strategic marketing that increases visibility, leads, recognition, and revenue. And that's the pitch. Like, that's it, And did I mess it up? Did I stumble? Yes, I did, because tongue tie and nerves and all the things. But you will get better. You do have to practice. And I will tell you, no one's above practicing. And it doesn't matter how seasoned you are, you will have days where that will literally slip your mind. One of my clients posted a Facebook video and she was like, I was just at a networking event. I have been to this event every single Wednesday, every time for 2 years at the same time. And I stood up, I said my name and my company name, and I forgot my entire company. Like I said nothing. And there was a part of me where I would have like beat myself up and all of those things. But like I realized we're human and it's okay. Like I am not above making mistakes, y'all.
And sharing that, like, please, can we just like share more of like the real relatable stuff, not just the highlight reel? Because when we only share the highlight reel, then the people that just stumbled in their introduction, they're feeling like, man, I totally suck. Like that's like everyone else has got it all together, and we have this crazy negative self-talk. But yeah, and the other thing is when you're talking about the work that you do, stop using industry level jargon. No one knows what like some of the buzzwords that we're using. Literally just be clear, use words that like if you're not in the industry, if you're not in marketing, if you're not a coach, if you're not in tech, whatever your industry, if you're a nutritionist, if you're not in health, like use words that people that don't know what the heck you're talking about would still understand. And the more that we can do that, then we just like lower this confusion barrier, because I always say confusion kills all sales. It's going to kill the sale before you even, because if they have to work hard to figure out what you're saying, what you do, or who you are, you've lost them.
Yes, that is invaluable. And I'm very interested. I want to hear some of those like fluff words that maybe you're like, okay, these 5 words are like major fluff words. I'm very, very interested. I want to share one example first. I was on this call with a past client of mine, and she was the girl who had gone from 2,600 to 8,200 in like 20 days, and she crushed it. And whenever we had first gone on a sales call, I was like, girl, I want to pay you so bad. Like I was trying to hire her, which is how we end up getting into a coaching agreement. I was like, I want to hire you and I know you're capable of this and I will pay you what you're asking me, but I actually did not understand a single word of what you just told me. Like, I actually don't know what I'm paying for, but I know you can get me the result.
Mhm.
And anyway, fast forward, that's what we ended up fixing and making that language so much easier for the everyday person to understand. And that was really key. That was the missing link that's led to that increase because if other people can't understand, just like you said, that's going to be a barrier.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of times like when we talk about our work, we speak to like maybe the framework or the homework and the things that we teach rather than like speaking to either the problem that they're having right now or the outcome. So if you're saying that you're like maybe you're a business coach and you're like, I teach you feminine sales. And I'm like, I don't know what that is or like embodied whatever or nervous system regulation. If I maybe I need nervous system regulation, but maybe I don't know that I need that. So
Right.
what am I experiencing right now that might be the solution? Oh, you need to regulate your nervous system. But what does that look like for me right now? Maybe I'm like just on caffeine and I'm really shaky throughout the day and I'm like not eating and I need proper nutrition, or what are those things that tangibly are showing up in my life, speak to those before you start to put your buzzwords in. And I also like to think about if what you're describing, if I can't like picture it, I don't know, I can't picture embodiment, I can't picture feminine sales, but like I could picture, or let's say like holistic nutrition. Oh, I have a holistic nutrition approach. It's like, well, when you like open the fridge and there's like nothing that you want to eat. My plan is actually like I send you the meal prepped, like so you open the fridge and you know exactly what you're eating each
Mhm.
day. Like, but can I picture what it is that I need? And if I can't picture it, then it's probably too fluffy and not descriptive and specific enough.
Oh, that's so, so good. I hope you guys heard that and took notes because go up and look at your past posts and see, do I have these fluffy words in there? How can I maybe take what Danny just said and how can I tweak this? And then take that same post and post it and see how it performs and maybe do a little test. I think a lot of times we come up with these big fluffy words, these jargon heavy words because we want to seem like we're the expert. We want to sound like we know our shit, right? We want people to think that we're, super smart and we know the jargon and blah 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 whatever. But that's not the case. Like that is actually not the case. You're actually going to be perceived so much better if you can communicate to them clearly. So I think that's very very key.
Yeah, we don't need a word salad. We need to like actually understand what it is that you do and how you can help me because most of the time the work that whoever's listening, you do really powerful work. Like you're the freaking bee's knees at what you do, but if we come to your page, we read your bio, we watch some of your last few posts and we still don't really understand like what it is that you actually help me do, who you help me be, like what is the outcome of being in your world, buying your product, enrolling in your service, then you that's the gap. That's the
Right.
gap between where you are right now and where you desire to be is likely in your messaging and your positioning and how you communicate what you do. It's like without that, you could have pretty marketing, you could be the best, but you need that.
Yes, absolutely. This has been so good. This is full of so many nuggets of identity and strategy and mindset and business and messaging and literally everything in between. Failure and embodiment. I love it. I love it. I couldn't have wished for a better episode. So thank you so much for being here. So before we go, tell everyone where they can find you, how they can connect, if you have any resources, upcoming events, upcoming challenges, anything like that. Give them the tea, girl.
Yeah, well, this was so fun. And I believe this is everything that it takes to be successful in business. It's not just strategy, it's not just energetics, it's both married together. And likely you just need a few little areas of refinement to really scale your brand to the level you desire. So if you're interested in getting to know me, getting into my world, my Instagram handle is Dani, Dani Carpenter Official. We will link it below. And inside there, I have a free community. It's a free community hosted in Telegram, and it's called Already Her. Because I don't believe that you need to be or do but be somebody different. Like you are already her. And inside there, I share pretty much what we did today: strategic shifts, messaging shifts, energetic belief, all the things on a weekly basis. You can just plug in there and just listen while you're driving to work or dropping your kids off at soccer. A 6-month mastermind called Juiced on You Mastermind. It stands for joy. We talked about joy is my word. And one of the things that we mentioned today is just being able to really energetically back yourself. So if you're not juiced on yourself first, why is anyone else going to choose you? So you must do that. We work on all the things from scaling to refining your offers, raising your prices, fixing your messaging, all the things, but just fine tuning tweaks. We are not burning your business to the ground. So those are the two ways we can stay in touch. But thank you so much for having me on here. I knew this was going to be a juicy conversation, and I'm so glad I got to be your guest.
Yes, thank you so much. I am so grateful to have you here. And for everyone listening, thank you so much. If you haven't yet, make sure you are following the show so that you can get notified every time we drop a new episode. Follow us on socials, and we will see you in the next episode of Too Big to Fit.